This is Phil Rosebrook, partner at Business Mentors, and you are listening to Restoration Edge. Welcome to Restoration Edge, the people and products behind smarter restoration. And this is a series of podcasts where we're going to bring you great restoration solutions to the problems facing your business today. And so we take our 4 decades of restoration experience and we sort through the different solutions in the industry to bring you great solutions that will help and benefit your business. So today, our guest is Mr. Clayton Barry, and Clayton has created a series of commercial solutions to help you build up and develop a sales funnel and pipeline and the sales skills to develop the commercial sales part of your restoration business. And so with that, let's jump into our conversation. So first of all, thank you, Clayton, for being a part of the Restoration Edge.
Well, thanks for having me, Phil.
Hey, so before we get started, why don't you give me your origin story? Tell me what inspired you to create the commercial virtual training programs, and specifically for the commercial disaster restoration industry.
Well, I grew up in the industry. My father was actually one of the founders of the IICRC. I had an independent company, and in 2006, I wanted to expand, and I joined a franchise system. After joining the system, I realized that their focus was on insurance, and I wanted to grow my business, and I felt the fastest way to do that was to apply some of the marketing systems that I had used for my first business. Within a couple of years, I was able to grow to become the 48th largest out of almost 1,000 owners in the franchise system. And I just saw that there was a need for sharing with my fellow franchisees how to go after the direct market. So that is really what caused me to write this course and help others market with some of the secrets that I had learned.
Hey, so when you were looking at this program, you had to have seen some real obvious gaps in the industry, in the training programs, and in the systems that people were deploying that drove you to create this program. So what were those gaps, and how did that really drive you towards creating this program?
The industry is very, very good overall at selling to and servicing residential clientele. And because they do a good job at that, they take the same selling techniques and they try to apply it to the commercial vertical. And it just doesn't work. So that is a gap. I also saw that the people were pumping a lot of money into digital marketing. And once again, that's a great way to build residential clientele, but that's not how you get top tier clientele.
So when you say residential, I think that part of what you'd also be referring to here would be also a kind of focus on insurance and insurance will focus
Yeah.
sales. And so maybe that's a little differentiator here that also drove you in this direction.
That's right. That's absolutely right. The industry back in 2006 was really pretty weak at going after the non-insurance market, and a lot of that's carried forward. And there's still a great need for the courses that I offer and the techniques that I teach.
Yeah, I think that'll dovetail well, and I probably going to get to this later in the conversation. But given the changes in the industry right now, where there's more pressure on the residential sales, more pressure on the insurance, higher out of
Yeah,
pockets for deductibles and out of pocket fees for a lot of companies, that this kind of is a natural kind of next step. So.
that's right. Yeah,
Hey, so
absolutely.
so Clayton, just a minute, kind of brag on yourself here for a minute, but why would somebody listen to you? And what's your credibility that would back up everything that you're saying here and what you've established in creating this course?
Sure. I stayed with the franchise system for about 12 years. and I sold. And when I did, a lot of fellow franchisees came to me and said, "Can you teach me what you did to get the market that you built?" And so I did coaching with close to 20 different franchises. And I really worked out the system of sales and marketing that I teach. It was that real world experience that helped me make the courses. The people that I taught, the ones where the owners got involved did very well. Some doubled their businesses within a couple of years.
So this all sounds great, but yeah, maybe let's get into a little more details of what you're talking about here. So for someone who's never heard of your programs, how would you summarize this? And how does the virtual element of this build into this? So is this a coaching program, or is it an entire online program, or what does this consist of?
That's a good question. It's actually both. The courses have been written so that they can be virtual. People can go through them. There's questions, quizzes. There are opportunities for them to put down their thoughts. And with the Clients for Life course, which is extensive, and it is designed to help an owner build an organization of sales. There are 4 workbooks, and it takes time to go through it, and it takes a few months to implement. The sales team course for SMRs and BDRs, that can also be self-taught. But in both courses, we found that the coaching element really helps. It's hard to get away from that personal one-on-one, and especially when the people teaching the course have boots on the ground experience.
Just so we keep everybody up to pace here. With the SMR and BDRs, can you define that just real quickly? So in case somebody didn't understand those
Okay.
letters and what they mean.
SMR, sales and marketing rep, and they're basically the general salespeople in the industry. And most franchises and many independents will have a marketer, and they fall into that SMR phrase. They do a lot of route sales. They go after low hanging fruit, and in time they work their way up into larger prospects. The BDR, business development representative, and those are people that have a separate set of skills, and it's really focusing on long-term, long-range selling, building relationships. The SMR is more transactional. The BDR is more interacting with the prospect.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for that clarification. So I'm going to transition a little bit. Let's talk about building a commercial restoration sales department.
Mhm.
So let's talk about common struggles. So why do so many residential companies struggle to break into this commercial market?
They don't understand the prospect. They don't understand what the opportunity is. They don't understand the difference between what a residential client and the insurance industry want, and they don't understand what the direct market wants. Everybody sells to the needs. The common statement is that a commercial job and a large loss job are just more of the same type of work. What you do in a person's living room, you're doing the same thing that you're going to do in a floor full of offices. And that part of it is true. The work stays the same, but what the residential client wants and what the commercial client want is really different. Um, in the residential and in that world, the the restoration company tends to think of themselves as being heroes. And in the commercial market, you have to shift your thinking and you have to make your client the hero. It's their job to fix the damage. And often they're going to be bringing in up to a dozen different vendors. And you're part of a team. So you have to have not a hero mindset, but you have to have a teamwork mindset. And the end goal is to make the person who hired you the hero for getting the job done. So let them get the glory and you can take the money.
Very
That's
nice.
that's kind of a simple way to boil it down.
Yeah, so that it's maybe it goes without saying, but doing commercial losses is much different than doing residential losses. Requires different tools and techniques and
Yeah.
processes. And I don't know that this is a commercial sales class. I think it's a class to teach you not production to teach you how to get the work coming in the door. Are there elements you touch on the actual components of the work,
Yes.
and how should companies think about the difference between residential and commercial, and how does this class prepare or at least address those issues?
Yes. The course is focusing on marketing and sales, of course. But when you're going to get into the commercial marketplace, you have to be able to do what you say. You have to walk the walk. Talking the talk can be the easy part. So yes, you do have to be able to do the work. There are portions of both courses that give you the indicators to know when you're ready, when you have the equipment that's necessary, when you have the understanding of the client's needs. There are a few things that I recommend in the training. One is to have and use T&M pricing, and that's really big. The documentation, keeping the client up to date with the work. You've really got to accelerate that in the commercial market. So yes, there's quite a lot in there that tells people when they're ready to move forward. But for the student company that recognizes, wow, maybe I bit off a little more than I can chew here. Maybe I'm not quite ready to get the really, really big jobs. The course will recommend ways to start out small and work into it, scale up. And in baseball, everybody knows there's three strikes and
Mm.
you're out. And what I teach in the commercial market, it's often one strike and you're out. Occasionally, you'll get a second swing, but you want to try to avoid, that problem. So start small, scale up, and there's a lot of recommendations about how to do that with your sales messaging, and then of course with the implementation of your work. And then it also has a lot to do with who you're going to target. You're not going to go after the great big fish in the pond first time out.
Yeah, and so I think it sounds like you're covering some of the skills gap that restoration companies encounter in this world as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess one of the things I see is that a lot of times their website, their branding, their marketing is fully directed at residential, but in reality, there's a whole adjustment in that mindset. Not only it's the branding message, but it's also the just the online passive messaging and the videos and the photos you're putting out there. Is that correct?
That's right. And in both of our training systems, we have sample templates um, of sales pieces. We have scripting, to say the right things, put out the right visual imagery. And that is a key part of it because you're absolutely right. 89% of the restoration companies in this country are looking residential. Many of their emblems, feature houses.
Mm.
So yeah, you have to look the part, and we give recommendations on that, and actual sample marketing pieces that can be customized.
So I'm going to correct you on something because I'm pretty familiar with your program, and you said this country. I believe this thing is probably global in nature in some ways, and definitely would fit
True.
North America. So it would, it's
Canada, yeah.
almost industry specific, industry focused more than country focused. So one of the things you mentioned, Clayton, is you talked about these being a self-paced course.
Hmm.
There's self-paced and instructor-led, and it could be one or the both, as I understand, and that allows some
That's right.
flexibility in that, and it meets people where their company is presently and where their needs are. So tell me
That's
how
right.
that works, and what does the curriculum look like? So commercial
Sure.
sales, but there's got to be kind of more detail on than that.
Yeah. 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 I'm going to just take a peek here at some of the notes that I wrote when I knew that we were going to be talking. Okay, so what we cover is a customer first mindset. We really focus strongly on extreme market targeting. We teach sales disciplines, time management. We really go into the wants versus needs of the prospects. We offer sales pitches and flyers of marketing pieces, which I had mentioned a moment ago. And then we have some secret sauce.
Mm.
And we have a proprietary system. And I can tell you that virtually every company that I have taught, when they get to those lessons in the book, it's kind of a they slap their forehead and why the heck didn't I think of that? And it's a great moment. I love it. That is what can help double your business. And then we go into it's great to build a business, but you want to keep clientele, and that is the reason for putting so much effort on the commercial market, is that if you pick the right clients, you're going to be getting repeat work, and you're going to be able to scale up often within the companies that you're working for. So we have quite a bit of information about client retention strategies. And then at the end of both courses, there's a workable action plan to put everything in motion.
So I'm not going to jump into the details either on your secret sauce, but I'm only going to say one thing that I think addresses some of the biggest pain points that restorers are dealing with today. So it's a customer focused, value added proposition that everybody, I would call that a virtuous system where everybody wins. Client wins, you win, and it solves those key problems and issues that maybe keep some restorers up at night. So tell me a little bit about the technology. So what if somebody's going to engage with this, what technology are they going to need and how is this facilitated?
Okay, well, we have a learning management system, online learning management system with quizzes and homework. We have some video. Um, and it's right now at the present time, it's not really technically advanced or a burden to jump into. I I feel it's well organized, clear, understandable, and it's not hard to work with at all. And then as far as the customized training, that really is set up for the needs of each of the clients, whether they want to hire a new person to build commercial business, and also perhaps training for a current sales and marketing rep, and move them gradually into the business development portion of selling. That can all be done. Also, we'll work with sales managers, And one point that is really important, and I think it sets our training apart from other systems that are out there, we spend time, and even when a company doesn't hire the customized uh, training portion, they still need to go through a one-on-one Zoom meeting, owner and trainer. And that is usually between 1 and 2 hours. And it really is to give them a total understanding of what they're going to do. And also, the courses come with an owner's guidebook. And the owner's guidebook shows the owner what the student is going to be learning. And there are certain times in the lessons, and then once they're out there in the world selling, where they're going to need to interact with the owner and say, here's what I would like to do. Here's an offer I would like to make. Will you approve this? Is this what you want to do? So we make it clear to the owner that we are empowering them to really be in control. And that is a key thing. And I touched on it earlier, but when we look at the companies that we've worked for that have done extremely well, the ones that have done the best have one thing in common, and that is the owner is involved. And with the commercial marketing, you owners can't just turn sales and marketing over to a person and then disengage. You can do that a little bit with the SMR, but you cannot do it at all with the commercial marketplace. And I'm an owner, and I understand. Uh,
Right.
I've made some of those goof ups earlier in life, and paid the price. When I made the corrections, I saw the benefits. So yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I think I find in organizational change it's really important is it's got to be endorsed from the top down. It has so it becomes part of the nature and the culture of what you do. And so what the owner features talks about is what's driven and fulfilled by the people in the field. So I think that that's important. And then the second part about this, I'm gonna say, is that I don't think this is built where the owner has to do a ton of work after they give kind of the approval. They look at it, they're like, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. But it doesn't require 40 hours a week from the owner. It
Oh
requires
no,
their
no,
their routine participation so they're aware of what's happening. But I don't think that the way this is designed is like, okay, now the owner has a new job because we defined our territorial markets a little bit different. So maybe clarify that a little
right.
bit. And then I also just wanted to support what you said it because I think that
Yeah.
everybody really wants to make this a successful move if they're going to decide to be commercial contractors.
Yeah, the one caveat that I'm going to add to that, Phil, you're absolutely right. The owner needs to spend a few hours up front going through the guidebook and thinking and doing some planning and playing the leadership role. But there is something with the commercial marketing that is extremely necessary, and that is that the commercial clients, and especially when we start looking at the top tier prospects like risk managers, um, government agencies, and that sort of thing, they do expect to see the owner at least in the closing meetings. And so that is an important thing. Um, Owners have to realize that they're thought of as the face of the business, and they do on the back end need to spend some time. But what can be better than going out to lunch with a prospect that could bring you $1 million worth of work?
For some people, it might be better if that was done on a golf course. But other than that, I think that that's the
Yeah,
fun
a
part.
golf
That's
course, sure. Yeah.
exactly that's the fun part
Exactly.
about owning a company. So, uh, uh, one of the things I was just wondering, is there a certification tied to this, or is there plans for that? I'm guessing that it's a process to get CE credits at the minimum. That something that probably could happen. But is there a certification tied to this program?
Not at this time, but that is something that we will be looking into.
I would suspect that we could develop some sort of a certificate process or something
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
the future that might meet some of those expectations. People like things on the wall at their office. So
That's right.
um,
Yes,
so
exactly.
what I want to do, Clayton, I want to jump in a little bit into operations and sales development. So we'll talk as just a
Mhm.
segment here and jump into some questions on that. So from a restorer's perspective, what what are the common mistakes that restorers make when they're trying to sell commercial restoration services? Is there some theme or something that people are kind of commonly bumping into?
Yeah, they tend to want to stress their size, their experience, their certifications, and use those as a selling feature or a closing feature. And it's certainly true that those things are important, but what you really need to sell is communication, coordination, collaboration, the three C's. And you need to sell the fact that you have a system from the sales representative to the estimator to the production people, that everybody is going to share in those three C's. And that the ultimate goal is to always keep the client in control, and that you are a team player, that you understand that most of the prospects that you're going to be focusing on are involved in having a preparedness network of other qualified vendors. So you need to be qualified. You need to reach out and ask to be on requests for qualification, and you need to become very good at completing those documents, providing the technical information, the bios on your leadership team and your management. You need to itemize the equipment that you own and talk about some of the experiences that you've had. But you have to get to that point. And you get to that point by demonstrating that you really truly are a company that will partner with and work within their system and with their other vendors. So you don't want to necessarily paint yourself as a one-stop shop. And I think that's a misunderstanding that most restoration companies have that are not working in this area. They look at the size opportunities of many of the jobs, and they think, well, the more I can do, that makes it easier for the client. But that's not necessarily the case. They already have a team out there and established. So you want to work into it and not try to take it over.
Does this program get into pricing and scoping at all? And I'm assuming there's a lot of differences between residential and commercial. Well, I know there is, but does this program get into the nuances of that whole discussion?
In a very general way, first of all, we really do recommend that you do T&M pricing rather than Xactimate or other platforms. If you um, want to use or feel that you need to use the systems that are out there and not go T&M, then we have recommendations for um, templates that can be at the beginning and the end of the estimate, or the bill, I should say, the invoice, and turn it into a sales and customer retention document. Um, Taking the first notice of loss and telling a very brief story about what you did and having some justification documents as to why the equipment was used. And then we have some recommendations to show prompt payment discounts and other things that can expedite the invoice being paid. So those are the sorts of things that we talk about. But as far as pricing structure itself, line item pricing, no. We do recommend a format for having a price list. That is an important feature of selling to the commercial market. So those are sort of areas that we do share. That is something else that the commercial marketing is not all large loss. The targeting that we teach and the prospects that we recommend going after, many of them you're going to be getting 20 and 30,000, $50,000 jobs, but you're going to be getting a number of them throughout the year. So at the end of the year, it's reasonable to think that you can do $500,000 to $1 million for the different prospects that we're talking about, but they're not all large loss. So
That's
I
an
just wanted
excellent
to.
differentiator. Yeah. So does this program, from an emergency response standpoint, talk about how a company should prepare for large loss catastrophe events and getting into that commercial world? So from the preparation standpoint, because it sounds pretty comprehensive. Are we getting into that as well?
In the Clients for Life training, which is the more extensive program, yes, there is information about that. And in the commercial sales team success program, not so much. There are, as I said earlier, indicators to know when you're ready, and there are indicators to show you which level of clientele you should target at that moment in time. But as far as the operations aspect, no, not so much.
Okay. That makes sense. I think there's a lot of really good schools out there that teach that stuff,
Mhm.
and it's a 2-day workshop. So
Yeah.
there's probably some really great recommendations we can make on that end as well. So I'm going to get into the fun
Mhm.
stuff right now, and let's talk about, because this has gone through. You've had a number of companies working through this, 20 with the franchise world, and another group that have directly used the new program as new iterations. So can you talk a little bit
Mhm.
about the measurable improvements that the clients have seen on jobs, revenue size, the response time, close rates, anything like that? Do you have quantifiable measurements or at least some expectations that people who use these programs might expect?
Sure. Based on the experience of my own business and the clients that I have taught, we teach a system of short range, medium range, and long range uh, sales cycles. And the short range, you can expect to have business within 3 to 4 months. The medium range is, 4 months to up to a year, and the long range is a year to 2 years. And the reason for that length of time, some of those clients only are going to have opportunities to hire new vendors every year, one time per year. So it's going to take a year cycle to get to the point when they can hire, and that's when you're doing your meeting with them and that sort of thing. And then in the second year, you'll have an opportunity to become one of their vendors. So as a former owner, I understand owners want to see revenue as quickly as possible. So we teach and prepare the students to be able to start bringing in revenue within just a few weeks of finishing the course.
Mm.
Um, most of our clients have. Some have actually brought in One brought in a $350,000 job. The last day that he taught, Friday was a half day. We had a little celebration lunch, and that evening, on their way home, they went to make a call at a hospital, and it just so happened that later that night, about 10 o'clock at night, a major pipe broke, and they had a $350,000 job. That's luck, but it's also the fact that they were prepared
Yeah.
and had what they needed to make that sale. Um, I talked about when I was working with the fellow franchises, several of them doubled their business, and they did that. One did it within 1 year, two others did it within 2 years. And a number of other companies wanted to sell. And so this was instrumental in helping them sell their business for a higher dollar value. Recently, one of the most recent clients, they were in Florida, and the ownership came from the insurance world, had some ins with a local Florida insurance company. His business was 97% insurance. Within just a few weeks, they managed to shift and pivot, and we focused on them marketing to multi-unit condominium and apartment property management companies. They shifted their revenue share 45% non-insurance
That's
in just a
remarkable.
matter of weeks. Yeah,
That's remarkable.
yeah,
Hey, from my perspective, luck is where preparation meets opportunity. So I
exactly.
think that this is the preparation, and then you put yourself in a place where that opportunity can be present. And so, luck is I almost would say that's misstated. So
Yeah, 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 and that is a really good point, Phil, and it also triggers a thought in my mind. One of the misconceptions that most restoration companies have is that with the advent of AI and digital technology, that they can lean heavily on that. And certainly those disciplines are going to help, and they're going to keep growing and making inroads into every aspect of our life and business. And I'm all for that. But I stress that good old fashioned face to face cold calling in person or on a telephone still works. And when you have the right messaging, you're not going to feel like a slimy salesperson. You're going to have the success to give you the confidence to keep going. And if you're out there knocking on doors, things will happen. You're going to put yourself in the place to have an opportunity. So,
I think that's kind of a remarkable, not remarkable, it's a reliable secret sauce in a world where AI and technology, and let me just put out the proper messaging online and people can come find me. I think that that's that secret sauce that maybe differentiates you is go back kind of the old fashioned and make sure the
mm-hmm.
relationship's solid. And so I think that that is a really cool element to what you've developed here, and that you
Yeah,
can use technology and make sure it's backed up with that personal touch because that's where the business is done.
that's right. That's exactly right.
So, Clay, let's talk a little bit, just maybe briefly touch on scalability. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm thinking is we're talking about a company that is maybe they've done some commercial jobs, but they don't do a
Mm-hmm.
lot. It's not predictable. Is this program, I'm assuming, is designed to develop a department that is consistently
Mm-hmm.
performing commercial work, and we can specialize regardless of, in a small town, you're not going to have commercial sales every single month or week, but you should be the one that's called. And in a bigger town, you might
Mm-hmm.
have some much more consistency. So I'm assuming that this addresses ways in which those companies can prepare and become scalable into commercial.
We really recommend that in the larger markets that owners should think in terms of having the sales and marketing rep. They can call on the agencies, the realtors, some of the apartment managers, and some of the smaller businesses. And with the skills that we teach them, they're going to do a better job of calling on those independent businesses. But they should also, and this is a larger market, they should definitely have a person who is a business developer that is not occupied with, you know, making up gift baskets and so on and so forth. I mean, they should be out there going after the really big stuff. In a smaller market, I believe that the general salesperson can definitely grow their skills and become very good at handling both audiences, the general sales and the commercial selling. Scalability. Um, I think that those of us who live in larger cities, we tend to underestimate what the opportunities are in smaller areas. Most state governments and the federal government have placed military bases and industries in smaller towns. They're often the anchor um, organization in those areas. So there are some very good opportunities in small towns too. So those shouldn't be overlooked.
Yeah. I don't know if it was great to hear that story about the Florida client that transformed their work mix almost pretty radically. I mean, that was a good mix from
Mhm.
87 to 90% residential to bringing in a lot more commercial and having a good balanced mix there. I don't know if there was any other
Yeah,
stories that kind of fell in that line. Since we're on that subject, it'd be nice to see if there was maybe some other case studies or examples that you had of successes with people who've used this program.
there there was another company that I worked with recently that hired a salesperson to be their BDR, and she went through training. And what happened was the owner was given a guidebook, but family circumstance, they weren't able to go through the guidebook, and they were disengaged from the business for about 3 weeks. And so what I helped this marketing person do was educate her owner as to the changes that the company needed to make. And the owner bought into it. And that person was actually on the verge of leaving. The salesperson was on the verge of leaving the company because the managers who were left in place while the owner was absent were kind of pushing back on these concepts. And it wasn't until the owner buy-in happened. But what took place, and I talked with her recently, what took place is that in the 3 weeks after she got the thumbs up from the owner to use the secret sauce, she has landed 6 very large condominium management companies.
Oh, wow.
And condos are a great opportunity because the buildings are corporations, and there is an insurance policy for the skin of the building and for its rec rooms and swimming pools and the equipment rooms, that sort of thing. Then you've got multiple owners, each have their own insurance. And when condominiums are multi floor, you have the pyramid of damage, the water flow down or the smoke uprise where multiple units are impacted. So our course gives a great deal of information about how to target that industry. And she applied the techniques six large condo complexes.
So that's a lot of doors and plumbing fixtures when you've got six buildings.
That's
That's pretty
right.
amazing. I want to jump a little bit here and let's talk a little bit about some of the industry, the trends in the industry, and how this potentially meets those trends kind of up front where the industry is going and how this helps arm restoration companies to be successful in today's or tomorrow's restoration industry.
Okay. Yeah, I think first of all that the insurance industry is in a world of hurt. They have squeezed the restoration vendors pretty hard. Um, it's not as lucrative to work for them as possible. I think that they're probably going to have to examine their programs and perhaps maybe scale down on the number of vendors that they use, but have a more workable relationship with those vendors. I kind of see that transitioning. I believe that our climate is going to continue to throw extreme work our way. Um, and that means that there's going to be quite a lot of jobs that are not covered losses. So getting to the direct pay market is a big goal for everybody. Um, and I think that there's going to be some consolidation in the industry among restoration companies. I think that there's going to be a lot of smaller companies that are going to join forces or go away. I think that medium-sized companies, a lot of them are going to be purchased, and there's going to be bigger organizations out there that are not necessarily franchises, but I think they're going to play a role. AI, of course, is going to be a really big tool, and I think any restoration company that doesn't take advantage of it is going to go by the wayside. It's so helpful at writing and planning and analyzing, and it's just a great tool. But as I said earlier, as long as you keep the human element in the mix, it's going to work. And I think the companies that figure out how to do that are going to do very well. So that's kind of what I see
Okay.
in the
So,
future.
so one of the things that in marketing and in the commercial marketing that I've seen it, and this program dovetails really well on that. So a lot of these AI programs are allowing you to quickly and effectively build a route. So you're going to know who's interested in your service, you know who the decision makers are
Yeah,
in a building.
yeah,
You'll be able to identify those targets. But
yeah,
the question is, what are
yeah.
you selling them? And this arms those contractors with here's a product. This is what we're coming out. We've got this program. Here's what it is. And so I think it makes all those programs much more relevant. And so there's a number of
Yes.
providers in the industry that are providing resources to target your clients. But this
Mhm.
is the missing element in all of those programs. And I think that's really fantastic.
The missing element is the message. That is the missing element. We tend to get kind of excited about the technology and the look of things, but you really have to show that you understand your clients' pain points, their needs, their wants, and you have to express empathy, and you have to do it in a way that is real, and you have to have a customer first focus. You can't be saying we're the biggest, we're the best, we're the experts, we're a family business, we've been around the longest of anybody, because almost all of those things except for the age of a company are subjective. And um, the consumer out there is becoming more savvy. They're seeing through all of the noise, and they're doing a better job of seeing who is real. So messaging, and as I say in the course, words matter. So people that can master the AI, clarify their message, are going to
Mm.
do well.
Fantastic. So if you were to look at the industry and just talk about the biggest opportunity and the biggest opportunity, whether it coincides with what you're talking about here in the commercial clients, training programs, whether it's for the actual people doing the work or it's the overall strategy, what are the maybe some of the biggest opportunity that where restoration companies are leaving money on the table and they can utilize the resources in this program to leverage that and to avoid those challenges or to access that money? I'm not saying money,
Yeah,
opportunities.
yeah, I'd say that it's really learning how to do real customer retention. And that's more than getting testimonials and thank yous. Um, it really is providing ongoing education and training that is valuable to the client. Um, what we've done for years in this industry, and it's understandable because when you look back at our history, we were fighting against the construction trade who, when there was a fire or when there was water, they would come in, demo, and rebuild. And then all of a sudden, guys came on the scene, Claude Blackburn with Dry Ease and others. We can dry wet structures in place and we can minimize demolition. So we had to talk about the science of drying and the technology and everything else. Then we're faced with mold, and we had to go through the science of all of that. So it was all an educational thing. Well, the property managers, the risk managers, the building engineers, they've caught up on all of that. And yet the industry continues to make those sort of topics a main focus. And yes, we need to continue teaching those things, and we have to continue showing maintenance people and others how they need to apply the science and the technology properly. But if we can show our clients how our work and the other work that vendors are doing benefits their clientele, um, and help them work with their clients, like managing a very angry occupant in a condo building who has mold in their unit, and they believe it's got to be the problem of the building, and they don't realize the contribution that they're making to creating the mold. How do you handle an angry and sometimes unreasonable person? And there are some really great ways to do that. And those are spoken about in the course as well. So when you can train and empower your clientele to be the hero, that's how you retain them. So that's part of the strategies that we teach.
Right. We'll kind of get into a series of closing questions and thoughts. But for those people who stuck with us this long, is there just a quick win you can give, like a nugget here? Is there a quick win that people could take
Mhm.
when trying to move forward with commercial restoration and developing this market or this opportunity within their market?
Yeah. Stop talking about yourself and your business, and find out what the clients need and want, and talk about what you can do to help them get those things.
Okay, that's good. That's good input and feedback. I'm going to jump a little bit, maybe jump forward on this and get your thoughts on restoration, commercial restoration in the future, and how does this program kind of dovetail and fit into
Oh,
that whole discussion, and why does this make sense? It's kind of a no-brainer decision for a lot of restoration companies to take a look at
okay.
that.
Yeah. Well, I think that the programs that we have now are going to help any company build a strong foundation. And as we look into the future, I think that you you need to have an organization that sells and happens to do restoration. And so I see the future of our training, perhaps having an in-depth course for owners, courses for admin that also would include telephone skills. And I really feel there's a need to enlighten the estimators in a company to look at the humanistic aspect of a job, not just line items and dollars, but how to present the cost that shows benefit. And I'm not going to go too deep into that, but that's one of the portions of our secret sauce. But going forward in the future, I can see there being a need for a dedicated training on just that area alone.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that and see how that kind of fits into this program. Um, so this sounds like a really comprehensive program. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. I know I've seen the details that you've developed in this, and one of the things that if somebody's listening to this session here, they're going to start thinking, "Oh my God, this sounds so time consuming." And what do you expect from a time commitment for the representatives and the owner of a restoration company,
Mhm.
and what are the expectations? What are people looking at? They're going to get into this. Is it? It doesn't sound like it's turning on a light switch, and you have light, and you have a
Mhm.
commercial sales department. It's probably a bit more.
No,
But what's the
yeah,
expectation somebody should be looking at?
sure,
What's the reality?
sure. Okay, in the clients for life, I would believe that it would take the owner and leadership probably a month or so if they spend dedicated time each week reading, working through the exercises and sitting down, talking and making plans. It would take a couple of months to go through that. Implementing would be another 3, perhaps 6 months, because we all know in this industry, how large losses come in, storms and everything else, and it's hard to stay on track. But if you're dedicated and really want to do it, you could probably have an organization running pretty efficiently 6 months. The sales team success course, um, the owner would probably, between the live consulting and reading the guidebook and doing some thinking and planning, probably have 6 hours of time and a couple of hours more throughout the course talking with their students. The student can go through the course, do the exercises. This is self-guided. They could do that easily within 2 weeks if they spent a couple of hours each day, and maybe a dedicated block of time on a weekend that's uninterrupted from their work schedule. Now, the consulting portions, that's a whole different game. As I said, I understand owners want to see revenue, so we do have some training courses that are 2 weeks. It's three days each week for 2 weeks, and that's a couple of hours each day of instruction, and then there's reading. So probably the student is going to spend 4 to 6 hours each day. So that does leave time left over for keeping up with some of their sales duties that they may currently have.
Yeah, it's no
Yeah.
small commitment, I guess, is one of the things that I'm reflecting on. But we're talking about transforming a company. We're looking at here's the challenges in the industry. Things are changing. The
Hmm.
industry is a little harder than it used to be. There's more competition for everyday jobs. There's more competition for
Yeah.
commercial
Yeah.
jobs. You need to prepare
Yeah.
your business. You need to prepare your marketing team, your sales team, your process, your systems. And this is a program where people aren't going to have to figure it out on their own. And this is a proven system, proven track record
Hmm.
that people are going to be able to take and develop and implement. And yeah, it's going to take six
Yeah.
months, but not 6 months of constant preparation. It's a
No.
6 month
No.
transformation, is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
Right.
so people who listen to that, I don't want them to come away thinking, oh gosh, I don't, there's no way I've got 6 months. I don't have
Yeah.
six
Right.
hours today.
Yeah.
I don't have 6 minutes today. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, what you mentioned before, there's base hits, there's small jobs, there's opportunities we're
Yeah.
going to get
Yeah.
as we move through this process. And so, if I'm capturing everything that you told me today, and we took in this whole program and what you're putting together, that yeah, it's a lot, but trying to figure it out on your own is much more. And I think there's no guardrails around you. If you're trying to do it on your own, there's a lot of
Hmm.
learning, and there's a lot of things that this is just going to save you time, effort, and energy.
Yeah.
Because Clayton, you and your groups of people that you're working with in the past have helped take and
Hmm.
streamline this process and remove some of the learning curve and help people
Yeah.
get to where they want to go much faster. And so in six
Yeah.
months, I agree that it's not an overnight change,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
overnight you can decide to do things differently, and each day you can do something incrementally. And so it sounds to me as in 6 months we have something
Yeah.
substantially different in our business.
Yeah. Right. And as I said early on, hours ago, um, that there comes a moment where the owners and the salespeople going through the course, it's the slap themselves on the forehead. Why didn't I think of this? And that's sort of a born again moment. And it's kind of exciting. And I mentioned the class where on the last day, the salesperson made a stop on their way home, from work and signed a job with the hospital. That was a in-person training. It was in Colorado Springs, and we were there for 4.5 days. And we spent about 4 hours with the team each day, and within that concentrated period of time, they got enough information, made the marketing piece that they needed to sign up a job like that. And that was a $350,000 job at the hospital. So if you embrace it and create the sales flyers, it can happen. It can happen.
So clarification, because you're talking about a number of different things, and that was a 4 day class, and a lot of what we're looking at
Mhm.
here through the Restoration Training online website is a virtual program. So just to clarify, this is not a live class. This then takes those. You don't have
Yeah,
to go spend and fly to some other city. They're going to
that's
get
right.
what they need sitting in their office. They've got
Yep.
discretionary time on the weekends, evenings, or during the workday. They can carve out time, and this training is done when and where people are already working. Correct?
That's right. And the class has gone through evolution. It started out, as I said, I worked with 20 former franchises. Um, and I learned a lot and I honed it down. And when we created the classes for restoration training online, um, we've actually in the last year we have edited them, and that's based on our experience. And feedback from the clientele that we've worked with, so it's been honed down to an easier system to embrace and implement.
Okay, fantastic. I appreciate that clarification. So, just as we wrap up here, do you have any
Mhm.
final thoughts you'd like to share with us? Or if you just let me know, or let everybody who's listening here know what's the best way to go get information on this program, and where can they learn more? Where can they find out about the different various packages you have, and
Mhm.
all of the details that are gonna to help answer those
Yeah.
questions? And then if that doesn't, where do they go for more information?
Okay, good question. I believe that we're going to put QR code and links on the podcast, so you can go there to learn the costs and that sort of thing. But the final takeaway is that you can't really sell a course like this by, you know, having somebody go and look at a website and look at the cost and that sort of thing. I mean, you need to do that, but the real way to find out if this is right for your business is talk to us, and that's free. You know, that is free. Talk to us, and let's find out if it's right. There have been people that have come to us, and we've said, "You're not quite ready yet. Here's what you need to do, and let's revisit this in a few months." And so you can't talk somebody into taking this course. They have to want to, and so talk with us.
Fantastic. So I appreciate that, Clayton, and I thank you for being a part of the Restoration Edge, and look forward to continuing this conversation, hearing great stories about successes from people who have
Yeah.
navigated this program, and learning how this is going to really transform restoration companies who want to learn to be a commercial restoration company, bring them the tools, resources that they need to drive them to the next level. And that's why we're so excited about this program and why we think
Mhm.
that the products you're delivering here will make a difference for those restoration companies looking to transform their business in a time where the everyday claims that everybody grew up on and has been using for a long time have just changed. And perhaps if you want to
Yeah.
be in a different area, different types of jobs, different clients, different clientele, that this is the source with the secret sauce that's in there somewhere, that there's a couple nuggets that people can
Yeah.
use that will transform their business quickly. And so, with all of that, Clayton, I would thank you very much for being a part of this conversation today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I just want to say that, this has been a good industry for me throughout my life. And at this stage of my life, I'm really enjoying giving back and helping other people. So thank you.